Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today is a bit of an impromptu video because I have made some big changes to my trades for this week. Let's get into it. So, if you saw my trades and VCs video for round 2, you would have seen that I traded in Sam Walsh and Clayton Oliver for Joe Fontier and Luke Jackson. But this is no longer the case, because I've come up with a set of trades that I think will set me up better for the SuperCoach season. So, what it involves is it firstly involves using a boost. And it also involves me not trading in Joe Fontier. And so with the boost, I am going to be trading out Lockie Blackton. This is because in the team sheets, Port Adelaide named both Dante Visentini and Jordan Sweet. And Lockie Blackton got double teamed against Hawthorn, against both Lloyd Meek and Ned Reeves, and only got a 62. And this was the one week we thought he'd have a bit of an easier matchup, because then of course he goes on to play Tristan Cherry, Tim English, Max Gawn, Jared Witts, and Darcy Cameron. Of course, that's not a good run. And we were hoping this match he could do a bit better, but given that he's going to be double teamed, I don't think he is. So I think he might actually lose some cash. I've also traded out Joe Fontier because if we look at Lockie Jakes' score, he's averaging 82. We look at Jai Sarong. Before this match, he was averaging a 65. It's a pretty good score. You've also got Josh Lindsay, who scored a 61. You've got Sam Grill, who got a 73, but he can definitely score a lot higher than that. The defensive rookies are looking pretty good. And there are some other rookies that have scored a bit more. And I'm going to bring one of those into my team in Milan Murdoch, who's just come off a 110 score. And now I'm going a bit early on him, but it looks like he's got a very solid role in that West Coast midfield. And given this performance, I don't see him being dropped anytime soon. And despite Joe Fontier having an easier matchup up against Saints, there are a lot of mouths to feed in that midfield. And I'm starting to think maybe there's a chance that Milan Murdoch will outscore Joe Fontier this round. And if that's the case, I want to take those extra points, because another thing about Joe Fontier is that he's 300k, and at that price, he's not generating that much cash. He's not generating enough cash for me to justify him bringing him into his team. So let's refresh the page so SuperCoach Projector will work. It's a useful Chrome extension that I highly recommend. And if we scroll down, if he scores 80s, then he'll really only generate about 100k. And which is 100k is good, but when you're trading him in, you want him to generate a bit more than that. If he scores at 90, which is quite unlikely given there are so many mouths in that GWS half-back line, he'll only really rise in price about 150k. However, if we look at, where did he go? If we look at Milan Murdoch, for example, his break-even is negative 72 and he still has another round to go. If he scores 80s, he will generate potentially 300k. And I have no doubt that he can score an 80 the entire season. He's also a lot cheaper, which allows me to be able to bring in someone who I was planning to bring in round 4, but I feel comfortable bringing him in now. And that's Marcus Bontempelli. Now, if you watched the trades video that I put out a day ago, you would have heard me say that I felt uncomfortable trading Bont in because he had a bye next round. And that is still true. However, I'm effectively making a second round of trades. And so in this second set of trades, I'm trading out an early buy player for another early buy player. And the other early buy player in Marcus Montepelli is a lot better. Something else this move does is it allows me to make full use of cash gen from different players. So with my old trades, it had me selling Mitch Selwood after this round, after one price rise. And if he scores 50s, he's still going to rise enough for me to get a bit more cash out of him. He'll still rise about 50k or 60k after I was planning to trade him out. Similar thing could happen with Jack Carroll, who has more of a solid role. If he scores 60s, I was planning to trade him out by his buy, but he still generates a lot of good cash afterwards. And despite missing out on Fontier, who is looking like he's going to be a great pick, I feel like this accomplishes both my goals in the short term and in the long term. And despite using a boost, and while a goal of mine before this year was to go through the buy periods without spending a boost, the one player I am willing to break that for is Bontempelli. He's the exception to the rule. And this allows me to get a solid midfield core of Bont, Butters, Noah Anderson, and Nick Dacos, as well as keeping Luke Jackson and being able to get the most out of these rookies. It leaves me with the one trade for next round being Mateus Philippou for Braden Cook. And it also means that if any of my other players get injured, I have the flexibility in terms of trades to trade them out. I think this set of trades gives me a lot of flexibility, a lot more flexibility than my last set of trades, because the last set of trades had me planning 3 rounds worth of trades. Whether this one, it's all and done after 1. And so I think these will be my final trades going into round 2. Of course, the Sydney Hawthorn game has already happened. Jai Sarong scored a 48, which was a bit less than ideal, but I'm not really too fussed. It'll probably be one of my lower scores for the round. And with that, I will see you in the round wrap, which should come out on Monday. Happy coaching.